This story begins in Italy, a place of passion and violence. The rugged Corsican mountains rose like a fortress of stone and pine, their valleys dotted with isolated villages. Among them lived the Sgiò della Rocca family, respected chieftains with a reputation for honor and pride. Life here was harsh, governed by codes of loyalty, hospitality, and blood. But even in these serene heights, whispers of tension drifted like smoke through the villages. The neighboring Grimaldi clan, ambitious and cunning, had long envied the Sgiò della Rocca family's dominance. Minor disputes over land, grazing rights, and local influence simmered for years. One fateful day, a Grimaldi raiding party killed a Sgiò della Rocca shepherd, sending a message of power, a spark that would ignite a deadly vendetta. The Sgiò della Rocca family learned of the attack late in the evening. Sgiò Pietro, the clan patriarch, knelt over the lifeless body of his shepherd, rage coiling in his chest. His eyes, once calm and measured, now burned with a single purpose: justice. The blood of his kin demanded retribution, precise and unforgiving. Pietro summoned his most trusted men, whispering of the offense and the necessity of vengeance. Each warrior understood the gravity. Hesitation would dishonor the family, and the Grimaldis would continue to strike. Plans were laid, secret meetings held in caves and forests, away from prying eyes. For months, the Sgiò della Rocca clan watched the movements of the Grimaldis, noting routines and weaknesses. Patience was a weapon. Rash action would invite disaster. Winter winds cut through the mountains, but their resolve was colder, sharper than the icy gusts. Every glance, every shadow was studied for the right moment. One night, under the cover of a moonless sky, the Sgiò della Rocca raiders ambushed a small Grimaldi supply caravan. There was no hesitation. The clash was brutal. Swords flashed, men fell silently, and the raiders disappeared into the darkness with the Grimaldi's stores. It was a message, precise, ruthless, and unmistakable. The Grimaldis, enraged, attempted a counterattack on the Sgiò della Rocca village, but the defenders were ready. Trenches and hidden positions turned the tables. The Grimaldis suffered heavy losses, their anger met with calculated brutality. The mountains themselves seemed to aid the vengeance of the wronged. Word reached Sgiò Pietro that a former ally had secretly supplied the Grimaldis with weapons. The sense of betrayal cut deeper than the steel of any blade. Trust, once sacred, had been violated. His fury grew, and he vowed that not a single traitor would escape the reckoning. The clan mapped out every Grimaldi residence in the valley. Each building, each guard, each escape route was studied. The plan would be executed in one night, swift, merciless, and complete. The air was thick with anticipation. The mountain winds carried a sense of impending doom. On the night of vengeance, silence blanketed the mountains. Raiders donned dark cloaks, masks covering their faces. Every step was measured, every breath controlled. The Sgiò della Rocca clan moved like shadows, a force of retribution ready to descend. They reached the first Grimaldi homestead. Windows were silent, doors weak. With precision, the raiders cut the guards' throats and secured the household. Every act was exact. No life was spared from the list of enemies. The clan's fury found its first victims. Sgiò Pietro ordered the collection of trophies, weapons, tokens, and symbols taken from the Grimaldis fallen. These were displayed on the family crest hall as proof of the retribution carried out, a visual declaration that betrayal would not be tolerated. The first light of dawn revealed the full cost of vengeance. Smoke curled from shattered homes, blood soaked into the earth, turning the soil dark and heavy. The villagers moved quietly, avoiding the gaze of the Sgiò della Rocca men. To them, vengeance had been served, but to others it was a ghost that would never rest. News of the massacre spread through the mountain passes. Some whispered that Sgiò Pietro had restored justice. Others said he had become the very monster he sought to destroy. The code of vengeance, once a matter of honor, now looked like madness painted in blood. Sgiò Pietro sat alone in his hall. Around him hung the weapons of the slain, but victory felt hollow. The air was heavy with the ghosts of the dead, both his enemies and his own. The silence that followed vengeance was not peace, but an echo of violence that refused to fade. The vendetta had not ended, it had merely shifted. Families allied with the Grimaldis began to plot revenge of their own. The cycle of blood continued, each death birthing another. In Corsica, vengeance was not a single act, it was an inheritance. Years passed, and Pietro aged beneath the burden of his own legend. His name inspired both fear and respect, but inside him the fire had turned to ash. In the silence of his hall, he often thought he heard the cries of those he'd slain. Revenge had claimed everything, even his peace. Children of the mountains grew up hearing his story. To some, he was a hero who restored honor. To others, a demon cloaked in justice. The tale of Sgiò della Rocca became a warning. Once blood is spilled for vengeance, it never truly dries. When Sgiò Pietro finally died, no bells rang. His body was buried beneath the mountain soil, the same soil that had drunk the blood of his enemies. The wind whispered through the pines, carrying his name into legend. But beneath that stillness lay an eternal truth. Vengeance never ends, it only sleeps.